Hey, good morning and welcome. I'm so glad you're here with us. This is going to be a great show today. We have an incredible guest, but we have some more guests that are coming on, and I'm going to tell you about them at the end of the show. Again, this is the Vision Alignment Show where we understand the importance of having our core beliefs, our core values aligned with our vision. That is why we meet and why we talk so much every day about how we can do that. Well, the person that we have coming on today is a social media expert, let's say. But he's a great guy. He is a phenomenal resource when it comes to all things social media. He also has a great speaking career. And without any further ado, I want to bring on our guest for today, none other than Corey Perlman. Good morning, Corey.
Hey, Brian. How you doing, man? Great to see you.
I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing great, man. It's just happy to be here. It's Monday morning, and love your energy. And yeah, thanks for having me, man.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being on. So, Corey, tell us, when is your first recollection of knowing your vision?
I like that question, Brian. I appreciate that, and hope that anyone who's joining us today gets something out of it, and I'll do the best I can to make sure that happens during our conversation. I would say I was on an internship with General Motors in the beginning of my career, and we were teaching car dealers about the internet at the time because it was in early 2000, and we were just getting started with everything, as you know. And, there was probably 200 car dealers in the room, and I was in the back of the room just assisting, and they were kind of bored and really didn't understand. And all of a sudden my mentor and professor and boss at the time, who was up on stage, says, "Hey, Corey, get up here. I need you to teach this session." And I'd never taught or been on stage or done anything like that in my life. And I was absolutely scared to death. And I failed miserably, I'm sure of it, but I really enjoyed it. And I did see a couple light bulbs come on with the car dealers in the audience. And I was like, man, I might be able to do this if I work at it really hard. And, 21 plus years later, I've been doing it ever since. So that would be my answer.
Awesome. If you want to hear more, stay right there. Wow. Very cool story. I love that.
Thank you. And I love your branding, by the way. I want to talk about that before this session's over.
Everything vision, which is odd for a guy with one eye.
It's great, actually. It's downright perfect, and I love it.
Well, thank you. So tell me and tell us a little bit more about all this that you have going on. What would you say is the biggest factor in your success?
Oh man, I guess relationships. I guess I would say. I was never the smartest guy in the room. Most of you will see that during this session today. But I think that really it just comes down to having a decent size EQ. I would say, like in terms of relationship building and stuff like that, and just connecting with the right people. But that's been huge in my life. But worked for General Motors in the beginning, and kind of when I, as I mentioned in that beginning story, just started teaching car dealers about the internet. And from there, I wrote a book called eBoot Camp, which really was the teachings of my internet marketing or our internet marketing program to these car dealers, but for the rest of the world. Real estate agents, mortgage broker, didn't matter your industry. The book was to help you understand the mystery that is internet and internet marketing. And from there, it just sort of blossomed into consulting and speaking. Obviously, internet marketing kind of merged and migrated into social media. And I've been doing it ever since. I own an agency called Impact Social. And we've owned that for over a decade, and we've had amazing clients, and I've had amazing opportunities to be on stages all over the world, talking about this concept of doing more business over the web. And I wake up every day being very excited that I have this job.
Yeah, well, that's awesome. So tell me, what's the best advice you've ever gotten?
The best advice I've ever gotten would be my dad once told me when I was younger that always accept all major credit cards. And, and that hit me later on in life when I remember going to like a coffee shop or something and trying to pay with like American Express, and they wouldn't take my money, right? And it was just a reminder to me that we should never put barriers in the way from people buying from us. And so that's been one of my strategy pillars over the years is anything on the web, just make it super easy if people want to find you or hire you or work with you or take the next step with you, that we make it super easy for them to do that and don't put any barriers in the way. So it may not be the best advice I ever heard, but it was the first one that came to mind.
So you talk a little bit about challenges that you've had. What are some challenges you're still working on?
That was a great question. I would say, I think imposter syndrome is very real. We talk about that a lot in our industry. And for those of you, I mean, I'm sure you all know it, but just to make sure, it's sort of feeling like you don't belong or that you're not, right for the job or whatever it is, kind of self-doubt kind of stuff. That definitely creeps in. As you know, Brian, when we go to conferences and we see these amazing speakers on stage or people seemingly doing, twice as many gigs as you, that doubt can definitely creep in. So I'm reminded, and I try to remind myself, and it's easier said than done sometimes, that success means very different things to different people. And I tried to make a conscious effort to make sure that I was home enough to where my kids assume that I'm going to be home as opposed to away. No regrets. I got an 11-year-old and a 7-year-old, and I want to make sure that, I don't look back and say, gosh, I missed this or I missed that. So do I travel? Yes. Am I busy? Yes. But do I miss a soccer game or a lacrosse game or a dance recital? Not really, pretty much never. So, so I think that imposter syndrome is definitely something I work through, but the constant reminder that this life balance thing that we're all trying to figure out is more important.
That's incredible. So we all have that imposter. We have blind spots and sometimes self-limiting beliefs. What are some of who helps you see your blind spots?
I would say a lot of our peers, Brian. I think that I've got some really good friends in the speaker industry that have been very helpful over the years. Shout out to David Newman, one of my dear friends in the business, has been so since day one. And I remember one time, I'll tell you something kind of funny. I came to him with a new book idea. I don't tell many people or audiences this because it's so embarrassing, but I hope that you guys will appreciate it. But so I say to Newman, I got this book idea. I said, instead of social media, we should talk about social Udia. And maybe I should write a book called Social Udia. And there's just a big silence over the phone. It was over the phone. And he said, that's the dumbest idea I've ever heard in my entire life, Perlman. And I was like, really? And he's like, yes, that is terrible. And I was like, all right, well, I think, and I asked a couple other people and they agreed with him. So I left that one on the sidelines.
So that's cool.
Yeah, having good quality people around you. And then my wife, I come back, from Lake Tahoe and, feeling on top of the world. And she comes back and she says, hey, you got, lawn to mow, trees to trim, and diapers to change kind of thing. Right. So
Yeah.
make sure I stay grounded and humble and all that stuff. So I appreciate that.
That's awesome. So there's a few people on we want to say hello to while we're doing this. Let's see if I can find them here. Here's Dave Ciancio. Rev, he's a great listener, great guy, and he wants to make sure he's putting us on pause and coming back. So that's good. And our friend Mark Husick, hey, Mark, it's good to see you this morning, live from Ohio.
Love it.
Always good to be there. And then our friend Kathy Benner, very nice, from Canal Winchester. So very cool. Well, thank you all for joining. If you would, please share this video out with as many people as you possibly can think of. That would be great. And just try to keep this going. So it's cool. Well, thank you again, Corey. Great stories. What does the next level of success look like for you?
I think I've been doing this for a long time, but I do have an additional passion. You've heard me talk about being a dad, and I teach a parenting program that actually my dad created called the Nurturing Fathers Program, and it's all about helping dads become better dads. And I've done it in the Atlanta Federal Penitentiary over the last 7 or 8 years, and I love it. I mean, it fuels me beyond anything probably I've ever done in my career. And so now, of course, with the pandemic, I've had to hit the pause button, as we all have. So I'm looking forward to getting back in there and helping dad, build this amazing journey program, throughout not only prisons, but all over in different parts. And it doesn't matter if you're, in prison or if you are a lawyer, in suburbia Ohio. We all are looking to do that job to our best of our ability, and we can all get better at it. So it's called the Nurturing Fathers Program. I love it, and I love facilitating and helping others become facilitators. So that's definitely I think in the second part of my career, I would say that program will be a big part of that next chapter for me.
No, that's great. That's great. You can do that with your dad too. That's very cool.
Yeah, it's really fun. We've become very, very close through that process.
Yeah. You've got to cherish that moment. So, tell me what brings you clarity.
Coffee, for sure.
Especially on a Monday morning.
Especially on a Monday morning, gotta love that good coffee. But this may sound a little. I guess I would say that just figuring out kind of where you are supposed to be, I think really provides me clarity. I think the two places that I found over my lifetime has been, on a stage, doing a keynote or something like that, just feeling the energy. And I know it's something that a lot of people fear. I talk to my kids about that. It's interesting that we do what many people consider their largest fear. And I just find that, fascinating and interesting. And people always ask us, Brian, do we get scared when we go on there? And the answer is yes. And I think it's part of the reason we do it. There's an adrenaline rush, you're nervous, and you fight through that and you feel great afterwards. So doing that business provides clarity. And then definitely going back to being in prison, I always have to preface that when I say I'm in prison, I am allowed to leave. That's the key part of volunteering there. Yeah. But being in that environment, people always ask me, are you scared? And I always say, no, I'm way more scared on a stage, in Columbus, Ohio for an association than I am in the prison. And that's just because I just feel like I really am supposed to be there. Like, God or whomever, the universe has put me there. And so I've got zero fear being in there, regardless of the situation or whatever. And because I just know I'm in the right place. So that's been pretty neat. That has definitely been very clear and given me clarity.
So how did you figure out what the right place was?
I something that was told to me a long, long time ago, and hopefully this is helpful for those of you watching or listening. but it was to listen or feel for the positive taps. So I remember when I was younger, and we all probably were in a situation, especially if any entrepreneurs are listening, you had a lot of thoughts or energy going in different directions. And I wanted to push one in particular. It was called investor teams. It was this idea I had that I thought was amazing, which I was getting no positive taps. When I say positive taps, like taps on my shoulder, like to pull me in that direction. So I'm working so hard toward investor teams, and yet I've got this company or this book or idea called eBootcamp or this class. And every time I teach it, people are grabbing me and throwing me in that direction, saying, you got to come do it. You come on, you got to. And I wasn't listening, and I kept going towards the other one. And finally, when I started listening to the positive taps and leading me towards that business instead of the other one, good things started to happen. So that's when that listening and feeling for the positive taps that are the universe is telling you this is the right direction to go.
Yeah, well, that's cool. So how do you stay steadfast?
Stay steadfast. I would say just trying, never stop learning, I think is important. I've always admired the people who are in later stages of life as I am that are always learning. And I always find
yeah, Corey, you are not in later stages of life.
No. I know that. Yeah. No, the people ahead of me who are in later stages of the people ahead of me, but they're always, no, I appreciate that. I sometimes I do feel that way, Brian, but I I'm not looking to offend anybody, but hey, if you're in the later, where am I? But just those who are most successful that I've seen that are in the latest stages of life are still learning. They still are super curious as to what the next thing is, or how can they learn or get better here. And I just think that that's really neat. So I want to continue to push myself when I do eventually hit the back nine to keep learning, keep, growing, and never start feeling like I've got all the answers, for sure.
No, that's good. So, I mean, you've got a 7-year-old and an 11-year-old. You're busy. You've got a great company. You have a speaking career. I mean, that's phenomenal. What do you do to recharge?
Good question, Brian. I do a couple of things. I play tennis, which I really enjoy doing, and it's very big here in Atlanta. So I used to play as a kid, and I was able to dust off the tennis rackets and find my two-handed backhand again, and that's fun.
Nice.
Yep. I do this crazy thing called Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and I've been doing it for almost a decade now, and that's wild, and it's kind of like wrestling, I guess, is the best comparison for it. So I am 43 years old, so I definitely am feeling every bit of that when I do it, but it's fun, and it's just a crazy experience. My kids are actually at a jiu-jitsu camp right now as we speak, so that warms my heart that they're there.
What kind of jiu-jitsu is it?
Yeah, it's so if you ever watch like UFC or any of the fighting on TV and they go to the ground, that's jiu-jitsu. So when they're like trying to put the guy's arm behind his back or put him to sleep or choke him out or anything like that, that is jiu-jitsu. And the first ever fighters that won the UFC, a fighter named Royce Gracie, was a Brazilian jiu-jitsu artist. And he would just go in there with a gi, these giant guys, and he would do something to them and they'd start tapping and say, uncle, uncle, uncle. And nobody knew what they were doing. And now they all do. So, yeah, that's it.
Well, that's cool. So tell me, what's your morning routine like?
Well, if my wife were in here, she'd say, well, he likes to sleep. Definitely that. But it's nothing too crazy. I'm a night owl. All right. So last night I was up till 2 a.m. editing the new version of the Nurturing Fathers program. So I will tell you that my morning routine is not as exciting as my nightly routine, but I love a good cup of coffee. One thing I will share with everybody is that, we all kind of probably changed some habits and learn some new things about ourselves through the pandemic. I used to be a Starbucks daily guy. I mean, I just figured I could not gather energy or have any kind of feng shui in my house And then the pandemic comes along, and I had to change that. And I realized that I'm perfectly fine here. And once I get these lights and I get in this environment, I feel good, I feel energized, and I don't need the Starbucks buzz to get me going. So unfortunately for you Starbucks shareholders, I did stop going to Starbucks every day, and that's probably why the stock hasn't done so well. But I do still go a couple times a week. So love the coffee, a little egg for breakfast, and then I get in here and I try to do something valuable to the business. So before I check email, stuff like that, write an article, shoot a video, something like that, prepare for a keynote, that kind of thing.
So do you shoot videos every day?
I do not shoot videos every day. I teach my clients to shoot videos consistently, but I don't do them daily. I do them probably once or twice a week. And that's not for any other reason than, I'm just on the road a lot. So I find it challenging to do it and do it the way I want to. So I'm more about quality over quantity.
When did your travel start to come back?
I did my first face-to-face live in person in March. And obviously I was in Vegas with you guys, and I've got an extremely busy August, September, and October, which is great. I'm very excited about it. All face-to-face at this point, all live. Awesome. And so, yeah, it's a slow, comeback, as you know, Brian. And I'm totally comfortable doing this virtual, and I love it. Actually, I really enjoy it because I get to go hang out with my wife when we're done here. Yeah. But nothing substitute a good old face-to-face, conversation or talk.
So extremely busy. What does that look like for you?
For me, because I have an agency, I'm not your typical, keynote speaker where 70 to 100 to 150 times a year. So my speaking calendar, when it's busy for me, is about 30 times a year, twice a month, roughly, maybe a little bit more. And then we have about, 50 plus agency clients, and those are, anywhere from, mortgage companies to insurance to, we have a Harley dealership, so it kind of crosses, all kinds of different industries. And we just do all of their digital for them. Their Facebook, social postings, their email marketing, their blogging, that type of thing. And so I run that agency, and that takes a lot of time and bandwidth and all that. So that's what keeps me busy.
So you have a number of people that work for you?
I do, yes. I had a great team, amazing team that I love dearly, and they're rock stars, and they're very good at what they do. And we're all virtual, so we're all in the U.S., but we're scattered throughout the United States. So we do a lot of this, and we do a lot of Zoom meetings with each other, and yeah, we have great rapport, and they love their clients, and their clients love them. So,
well, that's cool. So I'm speaking for HR groups here in August and myself, but I wonder how do you go about hiring and getting a consistent culture throughout those people that you hire or that are on your team?
Yeah, and this is, maybe for those of you who are looking for, any kind of social media tidbits. I'm a big referral guy. Okay, so when I talk about social media, it's all about referring and getting people to refer you. And to answer your question, a big way I get quality team members is through referrals. So a lot of my team members come from friends of my team, and so we kind of have grown organically. And that's how we've grown our business too, by the way. I don't do any marketing or outbound sales, not that much, if any at all. And over the years, most of our clients, I'd say 95% of them have come through word of mouth. One periodontist talking to another periodontist about our services. So that's been great. But yeah, I think referrals and just, if you're listening and you're interested, I can't help myself, just remember that people are more motivated to talk about us when they're unhappy than when they're happy. So we, as marketers or people who are trying to build our businesses, need to motivate our happy or champion clients and customers to talk about us online. So if you've got a great client, you got to ask, and you got to tell them where to do it, and you got to tee them up. to get it done in order to get them to leave you that good referral or testimonial.
I think for a lot of entrepreneurs, I mean, and people listening in, that's the hardest part, is to ask for that.
Yeah.
Do you have a good way of doing that?
Yeah. So one would be timing is very important. So just think about, if you got a massage, Brian, this week, when you got back from that massage and that person asked you for anything, you'd probably say yes. But 24 hours later, 36 hours later, 3 days later, man, your back is stiff, your neck is stiff, and you're certainly not going to be as willing to do that as you might have been in the first hour after the massage. So timing is key. And then just kind of making it as easy as possible. So if you are a local business, giving them the link to your Google page that you want them to write the review, or the Yelp page, telling them, saying, hey, you had mentioned when you were in my office that you really appreciated our timeliness and our follow through. If you wouldn't mind posting about that on LinkedIn or on wherever, I would really appreciate it. Here's the link. Just make it super easy on them.
That's cool. I made the mistake of asking for testimonials before I've given a speech, so that doesn't ring true very often as well. So timing is important. You're right.
Yes, 100%.
Like, why would I refer you before I hear you speak?
Yes, yes, definitely let them give them a reason to refer you. Yes.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, this has been great. The time has flown by, Corey. I really appreciate you being on. There's a couple of other questions I want to ask you first, though. The first question is, how can we serve you? The community that we have here on the Vision Alignment Show. How can we serve you?
You can just you can check out my website if you want, or my two websites. It's impactsocialmedia.com, IMPACT socialmedia.com, or CoreyPerlman.com will get you to my speaking side. And if there's anything I can do to help you, feel free to reach out, let me know. I can give you my email address as well. But just if you can sign up for our newsletter, or anything we can do to support you. Check out our different social media pages and such. Pretty easy to find online. But yeah, Brian, I do want to give you a shout out that, as I mentioned in the beginning, your branding is just awesome. And I don't, for those of you, your followers, I'm sure know, but I love these pictures that you do. You have all of the people you take pictures with close their left eye?
Whatever eye they can.
Doesn't matter.
I've had people go like this.
Yeah. But what I love about that is I can't tell you how many people I know that put pictures online, right? I think we all do. I think everybody raise their hand. But you have done something that's been memorable enough that I remembered it, and I will always remember it. So I think that's brilliant. People are always asking all the time, how do I become more engaging, or how do I become more memorable? And I say, well, let me tell you about this guy, Brian. Look what this guy does. I mean, he's smart. He did something different and unique that was memorable. I think that's really cool. So kudos to you.
Well, thank you, Corey. I appreciate that. So that's the first question. How can we serve you? So go to Impact Social Media. Did I spell that right?
You did. Everything is perfect. Except there's an extra O in com. So it's Coom. But
oh, geez.
I'm sure people will get it.
Well, yeah, they're smart enough. They'll get that.
You have a smart audience here, yeah.
Right, exactly. And what's your email address for people?
Yeah, Corey, Corey at impactsocialmedia.com.
Social media. I can't see what I'm typing, so I'm just going to assume that I've got it right. And we'll put it up there, and we'll save it. And we'll do this. See what happens. Is that right?
Close enough, yeah. Media.com, but that's okay. Corey at impactsocialmedia.com. You got it.
Hey, I tried.
You tried. Yeah. No, you're good. It's just but I mean, again, for those of you watching or listening, you just go to Corey at impactsocialmedia.com, and if there's any questions that you have, I'm happy to help. So let me know.
Awesome. Cool. Woo. Well, thank you so much for being on. I really appreciate it. And there was another question I wanted to ask you. How can I serve you? How can we serve you? But also, is there anything you would leave with the listeners today to help them? What is it, that one thing? If you could think of one thing you would want to have somebody in social media do that they don't do today, what would it be?
That's a great way to end it, Brian. I'll probably give you like two, but one is prioritization. I can't help myself. I'm a content speaker, Brian. Prioritization, not feeling like you have to do all things. I know that when you hear another social media site pop up, you feel like, oh my gosh, it's another thing I got to do. I'm a big proponent of focusing on a few and doing them really well instead of being a jack of all social media sites, master of none. So definitely prioritize, figure out where your people are. If they're 40 and above, they're not on Snapchat, they're not on TikTok. If they're 25 and below, then they are, so definitely look at what your demographic is and meet them there, I think is important. And then the other piece would just be on the content side, try not to phone it in. You could have easily just put, pictures of yourself with testimonials over them, Brian, or article links or whatnot. But instead you go out and you network with people and you take pictures with them and you talk about who they are and you promote your brand that way and you do this show. And so instead of just putting run-of-the-mill content in there, find ways to engage with people, be different, be creative, and add value. And all the things that I talk about in social media will become easier for you if you do those things first. So be creative, be helpful, be engaging, and you'll enjoy social.
Awesome. And another friend of ours, Randall Reeder. You know Randall?
I do know Randall, yeah.
Great guy.
Cool. Thanks, Randall. Thank you for that. I appreciate it, man.
He's good. That's it. That's what we have for today. I really appreciate you being on. This has been phenomenal. If there's ever any other questions you have, you can always enter them into chat, or if you're listening in live, put a hashtag live. If you're listening on replay, put a hashtag replay. But then any questions you have, you can put them in the comments, or you can just email me or Corey directly. So there you go.
Absolutely. Brian, thank you so much for having me. You do a great job on the interviewing part and setting the show up, make it easy for us. And, I hope it was valuable. And if there's now that any of your tribe listens to this and has anything that they need to know about or ask about, I'm just an email away. Feel free to email me. I'm happy to help.
Awesome. Cool. Corey, I'm going to have you go to the green room if you'll hang out there for a little bit. You can have as many of the M&Ms as you want.
Thank you.
But I'll be there in a second.
Sounds great. Thanks, Brian.
All right. Thanks, Corey. Woo! What a show. What a show. I love it. Corey Perlman is incredible. And this is so real and authentic. I love that. But we have, like I said, we have more great guests coming up tomorrow, actually. We have none other than John Petz coming on with us on Tuesday. And that is for the Vision Alignment Show. Then on Friday, we have another great show coming up. That will be for Radical Vision for Disabilities. That's at 11:30 Eastern. So stick with us for that. And if there's ever any questions you have, by all means, let me know. And if there's ever anything that I can do for you, please reach out. And as always, keep one eye on the road.